Okay, it's 5 o'clock on Thursday, October 12th, 2017. We have a quorum, so I'll call this meeting of the New Ulm Public Library Board to order. First item is the approval of the agenda. Everyone should have a copy of their agenda. So I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Are there any corrections, additions, anything else, Chris?
No.
Okay, so hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Now we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the September 14th Library Board meeting. Hopefully everyone had a chance to read through the minutes. And I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I so move. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from September 14th Library Board meeting. Any additions, corrections, oversights? All right, hearing none, and all in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Now we'll move on to the September 2017 financial report and summary. Chris?
Thank you. That begins on page 5. We are 75.3% through the year. Our budget is about 69.4% expended. Nothing unusual. Our office supplies and communications lines continue to slightly exceed budget, and you did approve slight increases in those lines for 2018. We'll be able to absorb that overage through the rest of the budget where we're underspending in certain lines. I did want to point out that it becomes apparent at the end of the year that our contractual maintenance equipment line is quite underspent at this point. We're at 29.71%, and that's because this is the line where our userful public computer costs come out. That is a 3-year contract, and it gets split over 3 years, and the finance department puts that into a prepaid fund, and so that adjustment isn't made until 2018. That'll be something that, it could even be March before the finance department makes that adjustment for the 2017 final budget.
So will that be reflected in the 2018 budget then?
No, it'll show up at the beginning of 2018 for 3 months, sometimes 4 months. I will continue to show you the 2017 budget, and when the finance department makes those final adjustments of prepaids, all of a sudden, then you'll see that the finance department has made that adjustment. So it's about $4,000 for the userful that has been prepaid, set aside for 2017, but the adjustment by the finance department will not be made until early 2018. So just so you're clear, it does end up being closer to that 100%.
So the money in there is gonna be spent, is what you're saying?
Pretty close, yes. And our board chair did ask me for clarification on page 6. If you go about 2/3 of the way down under cataloging and processing, that is the TDS fee that's paid, and it's paid in 2 lump sums, and it has been paid completely for the year. We are over budget on that line. We had this discussion, and you as a board agreed that the rest of the budget would absorb the amount that we are over, because TDS made an adjustment after the 2017 budget was approved. So we are actually over budget by about $1,200, and the rest of our budget will absorb that cost rather than taking that $1,200 out of a specific line. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to the librarian's report, starting with the library department activities report and statistics. Chris?
Thank you. That begins on page 13, pointing out just some of the highlights. I think it's always great when our staff can do some continuing education, and when it's as close as Mankato, we like to take advantage of that. So our reference librarian, Lisa Sieve, and our reference library aide, Sue Ullery, attended Legal Reference 101 presented by the Minnesota State Law Library, and they both came back telling me that it was a great session. They learned a lot. In fact, they compiled some resources that now sit out at the Service Center and they thought that it would continue to help them with the questions that they get related to legal matters. All of the staff attended ALICE training provided by the New Ulm Police Department. Now that's active shooter type of training. This was not hands-on, it was a classroom setting. It was a PowerPoint presented by 2 New Ulm Fire Department employees. That was on September 14th. A couple of years back, the library staff had training with Officer Brady Murphy. It was sort of a pre-ALICE kind of training where he looked around our building and gave us some suggestions for having clear outs and what we should do if there were a bad situation at the library. Staff is interested in having them come back and actually do the current ALICE training. I think it's a great idea. They're talking about a 2.5 hour session. The library would not be open, so we'd do it really early in the morning, get it done before 9:30 so we could open at a regular time. But this would be more of a hands-on training even than we had 2.5 years ago. So we'll be scheduling that hopefully sometime over the winter. One of our library volunteers has started digitizing the historic fire department photos, and they will be added to the New Ulm Art Collection website. We have our Fred Johnson collection continuing. We have some of the library artwork that's gone up, so that site just continues to grow. And I get a weekly update on how many views it gets, and some weeks we'll have 25 to 40 views on that site. So we're really happy with it, and it continues to grow. And then our TDS Automation Systems librarian had a really productive visit with our staff on September 15th to work through some technical issues. And April, our assistant director and our acquisitions librarian Betty Roeger will be going over to TDS next week for some more, it's a work session with circulation and technical services. It's nice to get together with as many TDS staff and member library staff as possible to work through some of those common issues. I attended the Minnesota Library Association conference last Thursday and Friday in Rochester. I always get super energized after being there. Lots of ideas come out of it. Usually takes me a couple weeks to come down to reality and what we can actually implement and put to New Ulm specific use. So there was just a lot of great information, and I look forward to sharing that with the staff in the months to come. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. That is the end of my report.
Well, I was reading through Betty's write-up on the visit by the TDS Automation Systems librarian. She always has a good write-up.
Yes, she does.
And she indicated there was some problems that she had that they all looked at her like she was out of her mind, and then she was able to show it to them, but there was one other library. So has that been resolved, do you know, or?
Not completely. We're still seeing that indexing error, but you know, our hope is now that the systems librarian has seen it in action. He's trying some things to clear it up for us.
Okay. And so the time that's spent by the systems librarian through TDS, is that something we're already paid for with our fees and stuff? So basically use that at our beck and call?
Well, among the other
Well, true,
30
but I mean,
some buildings.
he's not charging his
right.
time to us, that kind of
Correct.
thing.
That is
Okay.
part of our fees.
Okay.
Yes.
But Chris, wondering if during your conference that there was any discussion with respect to libraries' allocation of budgets for materials that are printed versus digital videos or electronic books, how some other libraries or what they're recommending.
No, in fact, Carl, I didn't attend any session where they talked about the allocation of budgets regarding materials. I went to sessions related to customer service and some outcome projections and surveys. I didn't go to anything related to budgets. I'm sorry, I can't speak to that. The Traverse des Sioux director submitted a grant to, it's an LSTA Library Service Technology Act grant, that's a federal grant that would, if we were to receive it, we would get an influx of money for electronic materials, and it would allow us to do a better job of collection development in the electronic realm, and then we would be able to kind of reprioritize how we spend our money, print versus electronic, and are there ways that we can set guidelines for member libraries? We haven't heard anything yet on that grant. I think that conversation at this point doesn't happen so much in TDS because frankly, member libraries don't have a lot of extra money to spend on digital materials. So we're spending the minimum we need to maintain Overdrive and not putting in much as far as additional funding. So we're not looking at reallocating because we're just trying to maintain the services that we have. If that grant comes in, that's certainly a conversation that will begin.
Thank you.
Any other questions to Chris? And then, anything on the statistics, or did everything look okay on that, in that regard? Nothing jumps out at us?
I don't think anything was particularly unusual. I think we're holding steady with our physical materials. We've tried a couple of new things with Overdrive. With the amount of money we do have, we're focusing more on the popular materials and buying additional copies. We haven't seen much change in our circulation.
If I could ask one question, how do you make a decision on how many hardcover books as opposed to something you're gonna hear? How do you make that decision?
We have historically allocated most of our money for print material
Correct.
because that circulation has been higher. And are you talking just the physical items? Or are you talking the Overdrive?
Basically, anything on it. I'm just wondering, is this something that you do yourself, looking at our library? Do you consult with other libraries on what they do?
I have.
'Cause the way you said it before, you're all strapped for cash, so, okay.
I haven't changed our allocation of funding for print material versus electronic material since Larry left. We've kept the same amount spent on print versus electronic. You and the city council approved $2,000 extra for print material and $1,000 extra for electronic material, but I have not reallocated how that money is spent. It's $8,000 for electronic or DVDs, audiobooks, and it's $42,000 for print. If in fact we do get the grant for Overdrive materials, that's when we probably would start looking more carefully at that. If all of a sudden we see a spike in our Overdrive based on an influx of money from a grant, then yeah, we probably need to be willing to shift from print to digital. But at this point, no, we've kept it the same allocation for quite a few years now.
Okay.
All right, then we'll switch over to programming. April?
Afternoon.
Hi.
Got the numbers for the past month and a half or so in your packet here. Do you have any questions on those? Okay. Then in our upcoming adult programs, we have on Tuesday, October 17th at 6:30, our Minnesota Valley Civil War Roundtable. Tom Romaine will be presenting on the invasion of Maine that evening. On Wednesday, October 18th at 12 p.m., Nita Gilbert, our library staffer, will be playing for Noon Tunes. On Wednesday, October 18th at 3 p.m., our art group will continue to meet. They are meeting Wednesdays through November 15th, with the exception of November 1st. On Thursday, October 19th, we have the Chasing Coral screening and discussion with the Water Resource Center from the University of Minnesota Mankato campus. They are coming to discuss that with us. The documentary is a Netflix original on the decline of coral due to global warming. So they're coming to talk about how that can be tied back to our local resources, especially water resources. On Tuesday, October 24th at 6 p.m., we have the Pumpkins with Bling program. That's a kids program where they can come in and decorate pumpkins, no carving. That is, pumpkins are donated from Hy-Vee. On Wednesday, October 25th, we have Scary Creatures with Scott Kudelka and Ron Bolden. That's an adult program discussing creatures that some people find creepy or crawly or a little unnerving. And they're going to talk about why those creatures are important to our local systems. And then on Tuesday, October 31st at 6:30 p.m., we have Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is another children's program. We'll have storytellers coming in from 6:30 to 7:30 to share scary stories in the children's room, which will have the lights dimmed to kind of have a spookier atmosphere for the kids. Do you have any questions on the upcoming programs? Okay. I wanted to share that National Library Card Sign-Up Month went very well. Prizes were distributed in the past couple weeks to our winners. Our open house on September 24th had 35 patrons attending. We had 6 at Storytime that day and 50 items checked out. So it was good to see what kind of population we might draw on a Sunday and the services that they were looking for on a Sunday. We didn't have any computer users that day, which surprised us all, I think. The Rad Zoo was another program that was for National Library Card Sign-Up Month on September 26th, and we had 80 children and parents attend that one, so that was a very fun program. And then Chris and I were out at the Rec Center on September 18th and the Civic Center on September 23rd, and we had 10 cards issued between those visits. We did a few renewals, and we had a lot of kids passing us by with their parents, and their parents were saying, "Oh, you already have a library card," but they would grab candy off our table, so we still got to interact with them that way. We are going to be partnering with New Ulm Community Market and Co-op and the New Ulm Medical Center to offer a series of healthy living workshops. Those will alternate in location between the library and the medical center and the co-op. Our first program was last night. It was a workshop on packing healthy lunches for children, which was led by the co-op president, Corinne Clemens. The next workshop is at the New Ulm Medical Center on November 15th at 6:30 p.m., and that's on making your own kombucha tea. November is National Novel Writing Month, and so we'll be hosting 2 writers' workshops on November 7th and 28th, and Jan Caveney will be leading those. She's a writer and storyteller herself, as well as our youth services librarian. In addition to that, author James Stanton will speak on novel writing and self-publishing on November 8th, and author Alan Eskins will speak on novel writing and working with a publisher on November 16th. We're also working with the Veteran Services of Brown County to plan a series of screenings and discussions related to Ken Burns' The Vietnam War documentary, which I'm sure you have heard is on PBS right now. We're aiming to have these screenings begin on Wednesday, December 13th at 6 p.m. That is a change from your packet. And then the TDS Legacy Grant Committee will meet again on October 26th to review the grant applications from TDS Libraries for this upcoming quarter. We have submitted applications to help fund the 2018 Life Living Speaker Series and also a series of presentations from children's author Avi on April 4th, 2018. And then in final news, we have 13 teens signed up for the Library Youth Council. Those teens will receive lists of our new young adult books, and they'll have the first chance to check them out, review them, let the library know what they're thinking of them, and let us know what they'd like to see in future purchases for our teen books. Can I answer any questions about programming? All right, thank you.
When will you know what for the grants for the Life Living series?
The meeting is October 26th, and I'm on the committee, so I'll be attending, and so I'll know that day whether or not those grants have been funded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
April did a great job with National Library Card Sign Up Month, planning all kinds of activities, and talked with the Friends and received funding from them, so big thanks to the Friends. April's efforts paid off in that this year, in the month of September, we had 93 new cards issued. In 2016, September, we had 59, and in September of 2015, we had 60. So I consider that a great, successful month.
All right, now we'll go to the Strategic Planning Committee update. Chris?
Thank you. Since we last met, we have had a change in the committee's makeup. We no longer have any public community members not tied to the library on the committee. We've decided to continue with the committee as is. Public had the opportunity to, I guess, tell us that they were interested in being on the committee, and it's just hasn't worked out. We will give community members plenty of opportunities to discuss the mission statement, the values, the vision statement, the goals, the objectives that we will be crafting. But we will continue with the library board members, the Friends, the library board member, and the library staff at this time on the Strategic Planning Committee. And Stephen, I'm going to have you pull up my screen. I want to share with you the work that we've been doing. We've met to create a mission statement, and you see that here we share as a community a haven for learning, imagination, discovery. And we've identified our values as we engage with our community. We are stewards of public resources, and we reflect diversity in a changing world. And our meeting this last Tuesday, we have a working vision statement. We empower all to navigate the present, illuminate the past, and build the future. We meet every 2 weeks on Tuesday at 11 a.m. in the library meeting room. Anybody is welcome anytime. My next step with these 3 items that I just shared with you is to post them in the library for public comment, to share them in the community, and you're the first to hear them outside of our meetings. So I'm excited to share that and to continue the great work. There's a lot of excellent discussion and engagement in those meetings.
So do you find that the public people bowing out is going to be in any way detrimental to the group, or?
I don't think so. I think it just makes it even more important that we share our work with the public in as many avenues as we possibly can.
All right, anything else for Chris on that? All right, we'll move on then to the annual report to the state acceptance letter and presentation. Chris?
Thank you, and Stephen, that's the next group here. A year ago, for the first time, I pulled together statistics that showed New Ulm Public Library compared with libraries that were similar to us in population and library card numbers around the state. So when I looked at it this year, I thought, well, let's look at these same libraries, even if their numbers may have changed a little bit. Let's just look at the same group all over again and see what's changed in a year. After doing it, I talked to April, how relevant are these numbers? What really strikes me is that every library community is different. And I don't know how valuable it is to compare us to Thief River Falls. We have really unique challenges and really unique opportunities here. But it does give us a snapshot in certain ways. I think what came to the forefront for me, particularly this year, was how much our computers are used compared to all the other libraries that I surveyed in this. Not only the physical userful computers, but our wireless, and that was even a low number because we were just doing a survey and extrapolating. Now we actually have hard numbers on our wireless, and we're seeing that use month after month. that is going to give us a very high total again this next year. So I was really pleasantly surprised again at how well used our computers are, and they continue to be needed in this community. So what you're seeing first are the libraries that report 6,000 to 7,000 registered users. And then you're seeing the population, and we're pretty high in population for having about 6,500 card users. That's going to be an interesting number to look at for this next annual report, because TDS has purged our users this year, and so I really wanted to get to 7,000, but I don't know that we will, because they did a big purge of library users who weren't using their card anymore. So it will be, I think, a more accurate number, but I'm afraid it's probably going to be a little bit lower than I want it to be.
When you say they're purging it, over what time frame? Is it a year? Is it
You
a couple
have,
of years
it's
or
a,
what?
you have to not use that card for 2 years. And then they even give you a little more of a grace period. Yeah. Based on our population, or I'm sorry, based on the number of our card holders, we do have a high number of visits, but again, that's not a hard and fast number, because we take a survey 4 times a year and we extrapolate the numbers. I would love to look more seriously into getting door counters. They're quite expensive.
Does anybody use a door counter?
My friends at Waseca and Martin County, we polled each other and we're all interested, and so none of us use them. But I know Springfield does. Springfield has one. And I don't know beyond that locally. And our public computer use is quite high. We're at about the 20,000 range per year, and that's unique uses. And our wireless went up quite a bit, a couple thousand from 2015 to 2016, and it's going to take quite a jump this year because we actually have hard numbers.
Why is that going up so much?
Well, now we actually have, rather than taking a survey 4 times a year and extrapolating, we actually can count every single device, so we get a more accurate number. It's also going up because everybody has a phone now. We're just seeing more devices. Now, what some people are saying, or what some libraries are saying, is their wireless is going up and their hard computer use is going down. Ours is going down a little bit, but not as much as many other libraries. We're still staying pretty high with our physical computer use. But cell phones are ubiquitous now, and so you're seeing those wireless numbers going up. Our total circulation continues to be at the top for the number of card holders that we have. And I would say our number of programs and our attendance both are staying pretty stable compared to other libraries. This is where I point out Thief River Falls had 461 programs to our 263. Oh my gosh, that just is amazing to me. I did not call them to find out how they're able to manage 461 programs, but that is quite something. And our attendance went down a little bit. I would say that part of it is because some of our programs are low attending programs, like our book groups, 10 to 12 people. You know, we don't expect 50 people for a book group. We have a nice, intimate, really good, engaging discussion with 10 to 12 people. Plus, I'm personally super invested in the book groups. I love them.
If you had 50, I think it would be a little unruly. I mean,
Now we're looking at libraries that reported a population of 12,500 to 14,500. And so you see some of these libraries have a lot of card holders for their population, and April and I just had a brief discussion, and you know, is that because they're giving all of their school kids cards? Perhaps. Part of it could be if they're in the cities, they're getting a lot of overflow, or if they're on the border of another library region, they may be getting a lot of overflow. There could be several reasons for why they have a high number of cards. That said, it still continues to be a goal of mine to increase the number of meaningful card holders that we have, continue to bring people in the building for books and the other services that we offer. When you look at our visits, and I would say they're pretty average for population size. And you look at the big one there is Dayton's Bluff. Of course, being in the cities, they have access to a very large population. Our computer use is just knocked out of the park compared to others with our population. And our circulation is actually really high as well. We're at about 140,000 for our total circulation of physical materials. And we hold steady with the number of programs. Again, you see Thief River Falls is really, really high, but we compare very favorably to Waseca Public Library, and their director has really made an amazing push and done a fantastic job with all kinds of things over in Waseca Le Sueur, but programming is one of her passions. And you notice that that's paid off. Her program attendance jumped about 3,500 in a year. So they have had some really high impact programs. I think, as I mentioned, our attendance has gone down a little bit, but I'm proud of the number of programs and the types of programs that we do offer.
What type of programming are they using to draw that many people?
You know, if you ever get a chance to go over to the Waseca Library, it's really a neat place. Their backyard is a park, and so they have concerts. They have a lot of outdoor activities that just that space lends itself to a big audience. So they have a whole concert series in the summer, 4 concerts open to the public. They'll get a few hundred people for each of those. It's a really neat space. And then just looking at the larger libraries within TDS, on the left is Mankato Blue Earth County Library, which has a population legal service area of 60,000 compared to us at 13,500. But I think given the services that we provide, we compare very favorably to them, as well as all the rest of the libraries that you see here, including St. James and Fairmont and North Mankato. And you see Fairmont visits is at 92,000, and that is just at that one library. So I'm interested in talking to Jenny Trushinsky, the director there, on how they're bringing in people. I think you'll see in a slide here that they do really well with their program attendance, and I'm going to say that that's probably partly responsible for their overall visits, even more so than their circulation. And again, you look at our public computer use, very high compared to all of these libraries. And in fact, we have almost as many physical computer uses as the Blue Earth County Library in Mankato. Total circulation of materials is the 3rd highest in the region. And then the number of programs is very similar to other libraries. Our program attendance is about average. And that's the end of the slideshow. So my question to you is, do you find these numbers helpful at all? Would you like me to continue to provide this for you every year? Would you like to see something different? Things to be thinking about and letting me know as we go through the year. The annual report is due April 1st. And then we get the approval in July, August, and I just went with October because that was October of last year that I presented the first comparison, and I'm happy to do it whenever you want, in whatever manner you want to see it.
Are you trying to bring most of those numbers up? Is there an attempt to do so, or is this,
My focus in asking April to work on National Library Card Month was increasing our library card numbers, increasing the number of patrons who have an active library card. So we'll see at the end of the year how that was one of my goals in January. We'll see how that's turned out and maybe what we can do. Is that something we want to continue to focus on? Based on the staff we have, and all the different directions that they go, I'm really very pleased with the programs, with the range of programs that we offer. I'm happy with our circulation. I think we continue to try to have new ideas, continue to look at how we're purchasing materials and get materials that people want. There isn't any one particular area that's quantifiable besides library cards that I'm particularly interested in. I want us to focus on the service that we provide to the customers, to provide the best patron interactions that we can. And that's not quantifiable.
I think it's good data. Well, being an engineer, charts and graphs are always good, but it really helps to visualize what the data is telling you. And it seems like we're performing comparatively well with the other libraries of our sizes, and then even some that are bigger than us. One of the things that I would recommend is that for the area of the programs, you would notice if Thief River Falls has a huge program thing, maybe reaching out to them and saying, what are you guys doing? What are you counting for programs? Like you said, the Waseca has concerts, which they consider part of their programs, I suppose. So we may not have the luxury of some of that, but at least figure out what they're doing and maybe replicate.
Yeah, absolutely. I can reach out to some of my
No, I would
colleagues.
think also then continuing to present this data, maybe on an annual basis, would be good to just continue to see if we're maintaining the level we're at, if we're increasing, if we're decreasing, and then figuring out why.
I agree with you, I like seeing the numbers too. And I agree also about, would hope that you're talking between different libraries for different new ideas that are coming up, because I imagine those things change day to day to day.
And one of the really important programming pieces that's happened is that legacy committee, and we've had a representative on it from the beginning, and April's now our representative. You get a lot of programming ideas from those meetings.
Now, has anyone from the other libraries contacted you then to see what you're doing? Not yet, huh?
No, not about a specific data point.
Okay.
We talk in our directors' meetings about services. Our wireless hotspots were topics of discussion. Fairmont actually has 25 hotspots now.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah,
what do we have?
three.
Three?
Yes.
Thought it was four.
And we have a hotspot that's been sitting in the drawer for 2 days. So, yeah, people do call, and then when they call, it seems that they can't get it. I understand, it's a first come, first serve kind of thing, but I'm not terribly inclined to get more when we've had one sitting there for 2 days. And we have one out of commission at the moment too, so we're upgrading 2 of them.
How many times have you had people call for a hotspot and had to say that there's not one available?
We actually keep that statistic on a monthly basis, and that's part of Lisa's report. I'm going to refer to page 15. So in September, calls for hotspots and it's not available, she noted 7 times.
And that's during a period when you've had one,
No, there were 3 available in
3
September.
available, not,
Right,
they were all working at the time.
yes.
So really that, doesn't reflect necessarily a need for a 4th at this point.
Correct. That's my, I guess, decision on that.
I would guess that it probably spikes in the summertime, possibly.
I'm looking at April because I don't know that we know, I don't know that we
Might
can
not know
say
that.
that.
Yeah, I mean, we do have people who are using it for different reasons when they're going out of town for
Okay.
vacation, but otherwise I wouldn't say that it seemed like it was more.
It'd be interesting to find out from Fairmont as to how many do they have sitting there? Are they checked out on a regular basis too? I mean,
I can look, I looked this last week and theirs were checked out.
really?
My understanding is that when they had only a few, they would have a line of people waiting, sitting in their library, waiting for it to get returned.
So mostly people are using it then for home use?
I
You don't
haven't,
know.
yeah, and we
Yeah.
don't ask.
We don't, right, yeah.
How do we market that, or how are they, people, the public, aware of the fact that we have those available?
We have posters up at the library. We've done marketing in the newspaper. We've put it we haven't put it lately in our e-newsletter, so I can, there's always more that we can do. Remind people that we have it, absolutely.
What's the length of time you can check one out for?
A week,
A week at a time,
and then you have to wait 24 hours.
okay.
All right, anything else? If not, then we'll move on to the action items. We got 4 resolutions to go over today, starting on page 42 with resolution number 2017-34. This is the second reading and adoption, approving the 2018 library fees and fines schedule. The City of New Ulm annually revises its schedule of fees. As part of this, the library is required to update its fees and fines schedule. The library director proposes the attached schedule for the 2018 fees and fines. The only addition proposed is book sale DVDs under the miscellaneous category with a cost of $1 per item. There is a change in wording for book sale, books, audiobooks, CDs for clarification. And replacement DVD case was moved from the miscellaneous category to fines. The proposed schedule was available for public viewing in the past month, and no comments were received by the library director. Following adoption of the schedule by the library board, it will be submitted to the finance department for final approval by the city council. So, and then I'm not gonna read through all the library fines, as shown. The only difference that it was noted was the, ones that we had just read. So I will entertain a motion to approve the library fees and fine schedule for 2018.
So move.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, then all in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. The next resolution is on page 44. It's resolution number 2017-35, first reading and adoption, approving July 1, 2017 through September 30th, 2017 donations and memorials. The attached list describes donations received by the library between July 1st and September 30th of 2017. The library board of the New Ulm Public Library accepts these donations with gratitude to the donors and pending approval at the meeting today. And then the listing shows all the donations, most of them being cash, but there are some material donations as well. Pretty straightforward. I will entertain a motion to approve the donations and memorials from the July 1st through September 30th, 2017 period.
So move. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
yeah, I understand why we're doing this, but I just question, is it necessary to do this on a quarterly basis? To look at these things, I mean, or is this something that could, twice a year, for instance, or something like that? I don't know how
It-
anybody else feels about that.
It used to be done less frequently. And I'm happy to do it whenever you want it done.
So there's nothing, any standards or specifics that indicate, like in the bylaws or anything, that we have to do this, it just has to be done annually?
I think it's
Do
a
we
good
have
idea to
to-
be looking at it anyway, but, often as a library board, for any reason, rejected a donation or anything like that, is that, I mean, I can visualize a reason to do that, but I can't believe it's happened very frequently.
But if we don't approve the acceptance, can they spend the money until we do? I don't wanna hold it up that way either.
We actually do spend the money because the library board a number of years ago approved anything under $500 could be spent without your explicit
Right, but the
approval.
ones over that, we have to, which was the next resolution, so that those may have to wait then. And would that be detrimental?
Those, I would still, if it were $500 or over, I would bring to you on a monthly basis because we like to spend the donations for the designated purposes when we get them.
But if we hadn't approved the donations and the memorials, I mean, can you still spend the money? Okay,
If it's under $500,
Right.
yes,
but I'm talking about the ones over,
no,
okay,
Then
so
we
in
do
that
have to
case,
come
those
to
would
you.
have to wait,
till your meeting,
right?
yeah.
I don't really want to wait 6 months for that. If I was someone that was donating $1,000 to the library for books, and it sat there for 6 months before you did anything with it, I might not be inclined to donate again.
I don't see doing it quarterly as a bigger deal, like Dave said, it's, I mean, very seldom would there be any reason for not approving it. And it goes through.
I just brought it up to find out, and I think we heard something, so.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, if not, then all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Next resolution is on page 47, resolution number 2017-36, first reading and adoption, which is approving $1,000 expenditure of donation for purchases of books. The library requests $1,000 out of Fund 212, donations and memorials for the purchase of books. These funds were donated in September of 2017 by Doris Crone and will be expended as follows. $500 for adult fiction, $250 for adult nonfiction, and $250 for picture books. It is expected that these funds will be expended by June 2018. Note, in 2010, the New Ulm Public Library Board approved resolution number 2010-10, approving expenditures of donations received as designated or memorial, which states as follows: for all individual donations $500 or more, the library director will request authority within 90 days from the library board to expend those funds for the designated or memorial purposes identified by the donor. So I will entertain a motion for approving the $1,000 expenditure of a donation for purchase of books.
I so move.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think it's interesting right here, we're looking at, we were talking about previously, and now we're looking at something that's donated in September, and we're talking about possibly waiting nine months to actually spend money. Cause it says by June of 2018, so as I read that, that's 9 or 10 months in the future. So again, that's why I go back to the other one, is it is necessary to be reviewing that, but.
That's a good question.
No.
I mean, is there a reason for the length of time for the expenditure, Chris, do you know, or is it just, I mean, do you find trouble spending it quickly?
No, in this particular case, I put it out till June because I know that our youth services librarian is catching up on spending some donations that she received.
Okay.
It's not the selectors who've been doing it for a long time, but Jan had a pool when we had staffing changes. So she doesn't want to spend all of that. She has several $1,000s to spend on donations, and she doesn't want to spend it all on new books published right now. She'd like to wait till March. When some, another influx, that's another big, publishing month, and she'd like to spend a little bit of it then.
Okay, so there was a reason for the date chosen then? It wasn't just
In my
arbitrary.
mind,
Okay.
yes.
That's-
Okay,
I'm sorry for asking the question.
no, it's a good question, I mean, we're trying to expedite the acceptance of the donations, but yet when we give you the money, then you sit on it for,
Right.
9 months, I mean,
Yep.
it's just,
That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
So,
okay, but there's a reason for it, so.
Yep.
Thanks for the explanation, Chris. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, then I'll, all in favor of approving the $1,000 expenditure, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried. So those were the pretty straightforward ones. Now we got one that's probably gonna require a little more discussion. Did everyone get a copy of the latest resolution? Because it was,
I did not. So,
anyone else?
My email.
but I did look at it.
Okay, well, we can share then for the people who may not have printed them. It's resolution number 2017-37, first reading and adoption for approving a vendor for sidewalk repair. The library has received 2 bids on repairing portions of the sidewalk in the west parking lot and an area on the east side of the building between the main building and the Minnesota Music Hall of Fame. Bid number 1 is from Cottonwood Valley Concrete for a total of $3,992.72 for each of those areas. And then number 2 is from Crawl Concrete and Construction for a total of $5,106. The library director recommends approval of the back parking lot bid from Cottonwood Valley Concrete. However, this project was not budgeted for 2017. There is about $3,500 remaining in the 211-5500-340050 contractual maintenance building that could be used to fund sidewalk repairs. Because of the vendor's schedule, this project would not be completed until spring of 2018. The finance department has indicated that funds may be earmarked from the 2017 budget and carried over to pay for this project in 2018. So even though the library director at this time recommends the approval of just the back parking lot, I'm assuming that the statement there indicates that if we wanted to, we could afford the complete repair. Is that correct, Chris?
You would, if you approved the complete repair, you would be over budget
Oh,
in that particular line.
okay.
There's about $3,500 left in that line.
Oh, I see, and we're looking for the minimum is $39.92.
Correct.
So we'd be about $500 over budget.
Correct.
Question I would have here also, the front between the Hall of Fame, is that used a great deal?
No,
I kind of thought.
And is that, more of an aesthetic kind of crack, is not a safety kind of thing, or?
it's not a safety concern. It's a slope to a manhole cover. So if you, and it's set back from any walkway, it's going toward the emergency exit
Okay.
in the alcove or the vestibule area of the library.
Okay,
The other thing to consider on the contractual maintenance building, we have monthly costs that come out of that, including our garbage costs, we just paid some fire extinguishers, they come in every year. We have our panic button costs come out of there, so we have ongoing contractual maintenance building costs. Something to keep in mind.
So you don't wanna deplete it all,
Correct.
I understand. What, responsibility does the Minnesota Music Hall of Fame bear for any of these sidewalk repairs that are, adjacent to their building?
They bear nothing outside of their building. That's part of the lease contract.
Is it leased with the city or with the
It's
library?
with the city,
so then that basically falls upon the library's, responsibility?
yes. Anything outside of the building.
All right, then, based on this discussion, I would, make a motion that, we approve the, funding of the back parking lot section only from the Cottonwood Valley Concrete vendor or contractor in the amount of $1,648.06. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any other further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to know why we're doing it.
We have, well, going back to when we put in the lights, at that time we had a vendor kind of shave off some of the uneven parts of the sidewalk. Since that time, we've had a little, some other areas that have popped up where there are some safety concerns. One particular area is really uneven. Then there are a couple of others that are becoming more uneven. That just happens over time.
Yep.
We have two big blocks that are really deteriorating, and that's very close to the book drop area. Sidewalk between the two exits in the back parking lot area, and they would take those two parts out. I see this as a 3 to 5 year, probably replacing most of that sidewalk, just because over time that sidewalk is shifting.
I asked the question, I'm the one using the walker. I'm the one who walks from, I generally park in the handicapped area, and then I walk to what I consider to be the main entrance, the one that goes straight onto the rug, because that's easier for me to walk, less worry about slipping. And in between there is about a 3/4 to a 1 inch, and I was hoping that was part of the reason we're doing this.
Yep. And
So-
Chris showed me this
Okay?
prior to one of our book group meetings, and I can validate that. Yeah, it's in a high traveled area,
Yep.
and there is some unevenness which could pose trip hazards as well as access for people like you.
But if somebody else is carrying 4 or 5 books,
Well,
not
that's
concentrating,
exactly.
you can easily hit
Yep.
and all of a sudden go sprawling forward. So, yeah, that's, I was hoping that was the reason, cause I have to be very careful going over that every time I use it, so.
Yep.
Yep.
And so then, as you had indicated, then the work wouldn't be done till next year, though, right?
Correct.
So we'd have to deal with through the winter time.
Yeah, and we've been painting those areas just to bring attention to
highlight it,
them.
Yep. Okay. All right, any other further discussion, questions? All right, all in favor then, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried. And that brings us to the end of the meeting, there's nothing else?
I'm sorry, I forgot to add this.
Oh, my goodness.
I know.
Calling an audible there under other, well, we do have other business, so maybe you could throw it under that.
If I may, the Friends of the Library book sale is coming up Thursday, November 2nd through Saturday, November 4th. We are receiving a lot of donations, so thanks to the community, and we will continue to take donations through the book sale. Friends of the Library board members, or Friends of the Library members can have their Friends-only preview on Thursday, November 2nd from 5:30 to 7:30, and then the sale is open to everybody else beginning Friday, November 3rd at 9:30 in the morning. If you want to volunteer, just drop us a line at the library, 359-8334. We're looking for help, and I just gave you April's number. Mine is 359-8332. So big thanks to the Friends. This is their major fundraiser, and they last week just approved $1,500 for library materials that you will accept as a donation next month
So when did you say it was, Thursday, November 2nd to?
through the Saturday the 4th.
And what time is it open again?
For Friends members, the 2nd at 5:30 p.m. and then it's open to everybody's Friday morning at 9:30 a.m.
And it's over in the annex?
It's downstairs in the meeting room.
Ah, okay.
Thousands of books and movies and CDs.
And when does the donation period,
You can bring them through the sale. In fact, the sale ends Saturday at 1 p.m. and we will get donations at 2 p.m. And then we
Used
just
for the next
start
year then?
over.
Yeah. Okay.
We are always accepting donations.
All right. Any other business?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, and meeting adjourned.